Stop criticizing men for not being emotionally available. It's not that they're not emotionally available. It's the simple fact that men have been conditioned to repress and neglect their own emotional needs. I'm going to break this down two ways, and I need you all to listen. When you all were children, men were handed action figures and toys and tool sets and blocks and stuff like that. And little girls were handed dolls and kitchen sets and easy bake ovens and things like that. So little girls were conditioned to be nurturing and to be attuned to emotional needs already, because when the baby cries, the little babies, the little dolls that they have, they cry or they poop or anything like that, they put the baby over, they change them, they pat, pat, pat. Oh, it's okay, rock, rock, rock. But little boys are handed action figures, these based off of these superheroes who typically, these vigilantes who typically, they don't cry, they don't really show emotion, they just problem solve, they analyze. That's just what they do. They save, they protect. That's what they do. So little girls have been conditioned as children to be nurturing and to understand emotional needs. Little boys have not. I'm going to give you all a second example. Little boy versus a little girl. If a little boy falls and scrapes his knee and he goes and he's crying to somebody, most times people are going to tell them, shake it off. His parents, his grandparents, aunties, uncles are going to say, shake it off. Toughen up. Man up. You're a little boy. Why are you crying? But a little girl, as soon as she scrapes her knee and she comes around family, oh, it's okay, baby. And they kissing a boo-boo and they doing everything else. So little boys have already seen that a little girl's emotional needs, her physical needs, are always going to be prioritized over him. So instead of showing emotions, they neglect and repress their emotions. Instead of crying because they don't want to be criticized or shunned for their emotions, what they do is they start soothing themselves. They just toughen up. They dismiss their own emotions. That emotional neglect turns into self-soothing. And when that self-soothing starts to manifest, it turns into self-reliance. That turns into hyper-independence, to where they feel as though they can't depend on anyone. So a lot of times men have been conditioned not to be expressive. That's the reason why you see that. Society is still the same way even today. If a man cries in front of society, he's going to get laughed at, called the simp, called whatever. You're too sensitive, you're feminine, those type of things. So society even still encourages that emotional repression. You know how hard it must be for a man to actually want to cry. He feel it deep in his stomach, deep in his chest, that he's sad, but he can't express it. And here's an emotional trigger. Whenever you're constantly expressing your dissatisfactions, you're constantly nagging, you're constantly asking for this, instead of actually showing some type of appreciation, instead of giving them the safe place to speak, instead of allowing them to be seen, allowing them to be heard. Instead, you're always criticizing them, or you're always right, or you're always in a need to be in control. You are triggering them. And what you're triggering is more repression. What you're triggering is that dismissive or avoidant behavior. So I want you all to think about that. Instead of you saying that men are not emotionally available, maybe take some time to understand them so you can learn how to help them.